Sunrise, revealing one of the wildest and most wonderful vistas ever beheld by the eyes of man. A true wonder of the world. Bryce Canyon National Park. Bryce is a delicate and fragile area, a paint box of colors and shapes, always changing, evolving, with new formations emerging over centuries of time. Bryce is located in southwestern Utah and was established as a national park in 1928. Encompassing over 35,000 acres of geological wonders, Bryce features a series of spectacular overlooks and trailheads connected by the park's main road. The park follows the edge of the Paunsaugunt Plateau, and its pink cliffs form the topmost step of what is referred to as the Grand Staircase. Viewed from the southern end of Bryce, the Grand Staircase stretches backward in time. Approximately 60 million years ago, much of southwestern Utah was covered by large lakes. Sediment accumulated, and over eons they hardened to become layers of rock. Gradually, a vast area referred to as the Colorado Plateau was uplifted nearly a vertical mile, and it tilted and split into several smaller plateaus. Different colored layers of rock pushed to the surface and eroded, producing a series of retreating cliffs and exposing nearly 4 billion years of geologic history. This occurred over millions of years, forming what we now call the Grand Staircase. Bryce lies along the pink cliffs at the top of the staircase. Zion occupies the middle step, with the Grand Canyon at the bottom and oldest level. Bryce isn't just a single canyon. It's a series of amphitheaters stretching the length of the Paunsaugunt Plateau. The amphitheaters are carved by erosion from the 50 to 60 million year old rocks of the pink cliffs. Erosion of the edge of the Paunsaugunt Plateau forms Bryce Canyon National Park, revealing those ancient lake deposits and the layers of sediment that preceded them. A tour of Bryce starts at the northern end of the park, where you'll find the majority of visitor services, including the Visitor Center and nearby Bryce Lodge. Fairyland Point is the northernmost overlook in Bryce. This canyon is smaller because the erosion here began more recently than elsewhere in the park. As the erosion continues, it will one day resemble the larger Bryce Amphitheater. Eventually, this rim will slide to the canyon floor and wash away to the Paria River. The incredible range of colors in these formations are a fascinating story in themselves. Iron oxides and varying concentrations of manganese and copper create the predominant colors. The more iron, the more pink and red. The more manganese and copper, the more lavender and green. The occasional streaks of white sediment are limestone uncolored by these minerals. For the athletic visitor, a hike down the Fairyland Loop Trail to Tower Bridge is a worthwhile challenge. It's amazing how much this remarkable formation resembles its London counterpart. The wildly shaped formations that you'll see throughout Bryce are generally referred to as hoodoos and are carved by erosion. The formations and scenery on this 8-mile loop are breathtaking, to say the least. In early morning, the colors and shadows are much more intense. To witness the first rays of dawn from Sunrise Point is an experience that is difficult to surpass. Truly beautiful and inspirational. Sunrise Overlook is perched high above the colorful canyon wonderland. From here, you can look down into Queen's Garden. But to really see the beauty of the formations and feel the drama of this incredible place, hike down Queen's Garden Trail into the canyon's midst. The colors become more brilliant, and the reds and whites contrast brightly against deep blue sky. The trail descends over 300 feet, but this is still the least strenuous hike below the rim. The 1.5-mile round trip takes about an hour and a half to complete. A hoodoo is a pinnacle or other odd-shaped rock left standing by the forces of erosion. Down among them, you can grasp their giant scale and view close-up hoodoos in the making. Queen Victoria presides over the garden as her castle towers high above. Nearby, a separate trail is set aside for horses and their riders. From the rim at Sunset Point, the visitor can see almost all of Bryce Amphitheater. Early morning or late in the day is the best time to view and photograph the canyon because of deeper shadows and richer light. That special glow of Bryce can be particularly difficult to capture on film because light-colored formations tend to wash out during the flat lighting of midday. The striking pose of Thor's hammer is one of the most recognizable in the park. The climate here is ideal for formation of these statue-like sculptures, with freezing temperatures more than 200 days a year. This cycle of freezing and thawing chips and fractures the rock, while runoff washes away loose material and isolates the pinnacles. From Sunset Point, popular Navajo Loop Trail is a moderately strenuous hike, but well worth the effort. It starts with an almost dizzying series of switchbacks as you descend 500 feet into the maze of rock. You'll get an immediate sense of their gigantic size, their overpowering presence. They tower above you like tall buildings, but these skyscrapers are created by erosion. Storms can wash out parts of the trails or leave debris across paths, so hikers need to be on the alert and watch their footing. Take the time to pause and look back up. The descent is steep, and at 8,000 feet, most people go down much faster than they come back up. Down here, the light is soft and almost shadowless, and everything is bathed in an eerie reddish glow. This narrow chasm at the bottom of the switchbacks is appropriately named Wall Street. Even deep in this chasm, shade-tolerant Douglas fir trees grow, stretching skyward toward the sunlight. These two have managed to survive over 750 years. Below Sunset Point, you can look up and see several other viewing areas, such as Inspiration Point. For a longer hike, you can take Navajo Loop to Queen's Garden Connecting Trail. This route offers a more gradual climb out of the canyon, and you'll see some of the park's best-known formations. On your way back up Navajo Loop Trail, you pass Twin Bridges, two harder pieces of rock that have yet to succumb to erosion. From here, the trail becomes quite steep again. No matter where you look, every view is picture perfect. This slender spire is the Sentinel. Amidst a sea of formations is the sinking ship. It was created when the tension near the Paunsaugunt Fault tilted up normally flat-lying beds of the Claren Formation. There are many hikes in the park, including the 5.5-mile Rim Trail, which connects Fairyland Point to Bryce Point. Any portion of the trail provides excellent views of the amphitheaters. With a good pair of binoculars or even a zoom lens, you can study the formations close up and see the fine details. From the Rim Trail, there are excellent views of the Wall of Windows and parts of the trail between Sunset and Sunrise Points are suitable for wheelchairs. If you don't feel like hiking, horseback riding offers an authentic Western experience. Morning and afternoon trips, led by seasoned wranglers, begin at the corral near the lodge. This is a great way of getting down deep into the canyons and then back up. So, trust your mount, sit back and relax, take pictures, and enjoy some of the greatest scenery in the world. Inspiration Point is another panoramic viewpoint that can be reached either by car or the Rim Trail. Although there are no hiking trails down into the canyon from here, the views are spectacular. Far below, the trails wind through the formations, and far in the distance, you can see Sunset and Sunrise Points. At the rim, you are standing on a drainage divide. Precipitation that falls behind you on the plateau flows toward the Great Basin, where it evaporates. Rain that falls over the rim flows into nearby streams and on to the Colorado River. Further south on the Rim Trail is Bryce Point. It provides a spectacular panorama of Bryce Amphitheater. The view seems endless. It is a vision of a wild, undeveloped land, much like that seen by Native Americans hundreds of years ago. Actually, very little is known about the earliest native peoples in the region. It is thought that the first human visitors were migratory foragers that passed through around 5,000 years ago. About 1,300 years ago, the basket maker people began to settle in nearby Paria Valley. There is also evidence of the Pueblo people between 900 and 1150 AD. The Indians lived in the warmer low-lying valleys and hunted and fished on the plateaus. After the Pueblo culture faded, around 1200 AD, the Paiute, a peaceful semi-nomadic people, gradually filtered into the area. By the mid-1800s, European settlers arrived. In the late 1800s, Ebenezer and Mary Bryce settled in Paria Valley. A carpenter and millwright by trade, he built a road into the canyon to get to the timber, and eventually neighbors began calling it Bryce's Canyon. Ebenezer was a devout Mormon and had 7 sons and 3 daughters. In 1880, he sold the farm and moved on to Arizona, where he continued his trade and worked for the church. As more settlers moved into the region, ranching and lumbering were the predominant uses of land. To help conserve the watershed, in 1905, much of the Paunsaugunt region was declared a national forest. In 1916, Reuben and Minnie Syret homesteaded several miles from the canyon. Camping near the canyon rim became a favorite for their visiting friends and led to the construction of Tourist Rest. In 1924, the Union Pacific Railroad purchased the development and further increased tourism. The lodge was constructed and cabins completed a short time later. In 1928, the area was declared a national park. By this time, Bryce's Canyon had quite a tourist trade. By 1934, during the Great Depression, the Civilian Conservation Corps was further improving the road system, as well as building trails and campgrounds. The new roads, along with the caravans that brought visitors from the railroad in Cedar City, made it possible for more tourists to visit Bryce Canyon. Walkways were built to the lecture circle, where logs were hewn for seats. Naturalist talks were given in front of the lodge. Today, campground amphitheaters are the site of ranger programs. Much of what was inspiring when Ebenezer Bryce first viewed the canyon remains today. The spires and hoodoos still stand erect, some a little shorter and thinner, some crumbled to rubble, with new spires gradually appearing to take their place. At Bryce Point, we find the head of Peekaboo Loop Trail, which lies at the bottom of the canyon. This is a moderately strenuous 5.5-mile hike that takes about 3 to 4 hours to complete. Along the trail, the wall of windows is a remarkable example of what the weathering process can do. Water works to enlarge hollows on opposite sides of the ridge until they break through to form sky holes. The openings typically develop beneath a harder caprock layer that shelters them. Eventually, when the spans above can no longer support the weight, the windows collapse, and rows of isolated spires and pinnacles take their place. Every turn along Peekaboo Trail offers new and overwhelming views. Spires of all sizes and deep chasms, intricate detail, and colors ranging from rich reds, yellows, and browns to the palest of pastels. Further along, Inspiration Point comes into view once again. Hiking through Bryce, you can't help but notice the vivid contrasts of color and shape. The greens of the fir and pine, the deep blue Utah sky, and the red of statuesque rocks sculpted like pieces from a museum exhibition. Indeed, Bryce is a dynamic outdoor exhibition of geological wonders on a grand scale. In the summer, there's little drinking water in the canyons, so be sure to carry water with you on the more strenuous hikes. The scenery can change from barren rock formations one minute to heavy forest a few turns later. A chipmunk strips pine cones to get at the meaty seeds. This is his health food. Looking back up, the angles, shapes, and colors are a photographer's paradise. Rounding a bend, a familiar bluff looms overhead. The end of Peekaboo Loop Trail is near, and Bryce Point is our destination. Slowly, the trail snakes his way upward to the rim. Back on top, you gaze into the distance and know a little better what secret places lie out in the sprawling wonderland before you. Another great hike from Bryce Point is Under the Rim Trail to Hat Shop. It's best to start early to catch the effects of the golden morning light. The round trip to Hat Shop is a strenuous 3.8 miles and ascends nearly 800 feet on the way back. When you get to Hat Shop, you'll know instantly how it got its name. These are exceptional examples of pedestal or earth pillar type hoodoos. Each graceful pillar is protected by an erosion-resistant cap of rock, while the underlying material is composed of soft, crumbly rock debris shed from the cliffs at an earlier time. Once you study these oddities for a while, you'll begin to understand the Indians' legends about a place where the people were turned to stone. Like many of the hikes here, the return trip back to Bryce Point gives an entirely new set of spectacular views. Chipmunks are common in Bryce and may appear similar to the golden-mantled ground squirrel, which is also a year-round park resident. The chipmunk's prominent eye stripes are the easiest way to tell them apart. Bryce Point is one of the most interesting viewpoints in the park. Whether taking in panoramic vistas or studying the details below the rim, the colors, shapes, and sheer beauty are truly awe-inspiring. Away from the rim, the main park road runs atop the plateau through ponderosa forests and black sagebrush meadows. The next viewpoint south is Paria Point. No trails lead from here, but the area affords beautiful vistas. Bryce supports an interesting variety of wildlife in its diverse habitats. The Utah prairie dog, once abundant in south-central Utah, is now threatened. You'll probably see and hear ravens throughout the park. Several miles south of Paria, Sheep Creek Connecting Trail offers a nice change of pace. The hike begins in a pretty meadow, but you'll soon be in a stately pine forest. The crisp mountain air and the smell of the pines as you walk under the shady canopy add to the enjoyment. The Sheep Creek Trail connects to the Under the Rim Trail. Bryce's Natural Bridge is a massive yet elegant formation, rising more than 125 feet above the gully below. Rainwater, running over the harder cap rock, slides down the cliff face, sometimes hanging on the underside and gently dissolving the rock surface. Natural Bridge, which is technically an arch, is 54 feet wide and spans a drainage which deepens and expands the arch every year. Considered by many to be the most beautiful overlook in the park, Agua Canyon displays a flair for the dramatic with its ever-changing visual moods of sunrises, sunsets, and weather. This bizarre pinnacle, where harder cap rock has slowed the erosion of strata underneath, has provided a few seeds with a place to take root. Upon this precarious perch, they continue to grow, surviving the harsh environment. Here at Agua Canyon, the pink cliffs meet the trees. The original landscape below has eroded and now is heavily forested. Beyond the cliffs, it seems that you can see forever. Few trees can survive on the slopes, but forests grow well both on and below the plateau at Ponderosa Canyon. At the northern end of the park, ponderosa pines are predominant, but at the higher elevations in the southern end, shade-tolerant spruce and firs mix with the ponderosas and provide habitat for a variety of bird life. At Rainbow Point, high on the Ponsican Plateau, You can look 30 miles across the valley to Aquarius Plateau, which was at one time connected to the Paunsaugunt. When the entire Rocky Mountain region began rising 16 million years ago, north-south faults split the vast tableland into 7 separate plateaus. Although most of the uplifting occurred in the unimaginably distant past, recent seismographic readings indicate minute but ongoing activity. Here at the southern end of the park, the Paunsaugunt Plateau is 9,105 feet above sea level, still nearly 2,000 feet lower than the Aquarius. Rainbow Point is just off the end of the park road. Because of its elevation, it provides inspiring views of the northern and eastern horizons. The most southern overlook is Yovimpa Point, and the pink cliffs here are the uppermost step in the grand staircase. Along any part of the rim, there can be violent lightning strikes. During summer thunderstorms, always avoid taking shelter under any tree, as the highest point on a ridge often is the first struck by lightning. At Yovimpa and Rainbow Points, you'll find the ancient bristlecone pines. Their twisted, gnarled trunks are witness to the survival of life under extreme conditions. Efficient use of its limited resources is the key to the bristlecone's longevity. The oldest bristlecone in Bryce is thought to be about 1,700 years old. During drought periods, no new growth occurs and the tree dies back, leaving just a few living branches. The Bristlecone Loop Trail travels along the top of the plateau. The moderate walk over gradually sloping terrain leads to dramatic views of a vast area of canyons and cliffs. Throughout the park, the enduring bristlecone pine clings to wind-swept cliffs. It and other gnarled trees send roots creeping in search of nutrients and moisture. With the rim of Bryce eroding at a rate of 1 foot every 60 years, some trees on top of the rim are doomed to eventually lose their tenacious grip and topple into the canyon. A typical summer day at Bryce Canyon begins bright and clear with vast panoramas of nature's grandest views. As the day wears on, majestic clouds slowly roll in, expanding to fill the warm summer sky. A breathtaking thunderstorm begins to build. The water runoff from heavy rain soon swells the creeks to become raging torrents. Storms like this play a major part in the shaping of the canyon and its formations. Rushing water carries a brace of silt and gravel debris which scours the rock. Although it works on the rock at a much slower pace, fog plays a role in erosion too. Grain by tiny grain, the formations wear away as the persistent moisture works its way into cracks. When temperatures drop below freezing, tiny droplets turn to ice and expand, further hastening the process. Wind is another source of erosion. High winds can blow dust and small sand particles around and produce a sandblasting effect. Slowly, the warm days of summer slip away and the splendor of fall arrives. On top of the heavily forested plateau, beautiful stands of aspens display their autumn best. The days are bright but brisk. Fall is also the time for chipmunks and squirrels to gather food for the long, cold winter ahead. It's a time for all wildlife to prepare for winter. Mule deer feed on shrubs and young pines and move to lower elevations as the days get colder. A prairie dog stores its food in the form of body fat, while a curious young deer is fascinated by a pair of blue grouse. Blue grouse are year-round residents in Bryce and stay put for the snowy winter. Elsewhere, bucks forage for their food. A pair of romping elk is not often seen in Bryce. More often you'll see them outside the park. Our tour of Bryce now returns to the north end of the park, taking Scenic Highway 12 through Bryce's northern section. One of the most enjoyable hikes in the north end is to Mossy Cave. The cave itself is tucked away under a cliff, and water seeps down through the rock above to create this garden grotto. Dripping water pours from crevices and nourishes the shade-loving moss. You can protect this fragile environment by staying on established trails. Good advice throughout Bryce. Bryce is surrounded by public lands. For the rest of this tour, we'll head northeast up Scenic Byway 12 to explore a dozen lesser-known but equally exciting places. We'll start in Dixie National Forest in Red Canyon near the north end of Bryce. Red Canyon is often referred to as Little Bryce because of its impressive weather-carved formations. The infamous outlaw Butch Cassidy had his hideout in Red Canyon, and you can reach it by horseback. Start your visit at the Forest Service Visitor Center and pick up lots of useful information on the canyon and Scenic Byway 12. There are pleasant hikes away from the summer crowds here, plus other outdoor activities like horseback riding, mountain biking, and off-highway vehicle use. Red Canyon also has a campground. For the outdoor enthusiast, there's nothing quite like spending time with family and friends camping out under the pines. Our next stop on Scenic Byway 12 is Kodachrome Basin State Park, located just south of Cannonville. Kodachrome Basin is a vividly colored geological area with massive cliffs and formations. The area may have been shaped by earthquake activity along the Paunsaugunt Fault, with erosion applying nature's finishing touches. Hiking trails are found throughout the 2,200-acre park. At an elevation of 6,000 feet, the basin's dominant habitat is juniper and pinyon forest. Spectacular Grosvenor Arch lies just beyond Kodachrome Basin, a little further off Highway 12. It is a naturally carved arch of colored stone and was named after Gilbert Grosvenor of National Geographic fame. Escalante Petrified Forest State Park, Wide Hollow Reservoir, and a campground are located adjacent to the town of Escalante. The park is a showcase of petrified wood and fossilized dinosaur bones, and 2 established trails wind through some of the most beautiful petrified wood found anywhere. Geologists estimate that some specimens are over 160 million years old. If you want a really special outdoor experience, Canyons of the Escalante Recreation Area has a lot to offer. This whole area is administered by the Bureau of Land Management. One great hike is a 5.5-mile round trip from the Calf Creek campground to Calf Creek's lower falls. Hiking in this rugged canyon takes you through beautiful country of towering rock walls and unique formations. You don't have to be a seasoned hiker, just wanting to get away from it all will do. Your hike will take you past abandoned Indian cliff dwellings and ancient petroglyphs. Upon reaching Lower Calf Creek Falls, your long hike is well rewarded. It's an incredible sight in this arid land, a roaring 126-foot tall waterfall leaping from the cliff top. Throughout the area, there are refreshing streams and pools, and a dream come true on a hot summer hike, the perfect swimming hole. Late spring or early summer in Calf Creek Recreation Area is a glorious time as plentiful water sets the stream banks bursting with flowers and wildlife. One of the more exciting adventures is a scramble through spooky or peekaboo slot canyons. These unusual yet beautiful sandstone drainage channels have been worn smooth from thousands of years of erosion. Heading north again on Scenic Byway 12, our last stop is Anasazi Indian Village State Park, located in the town of Boulder. You may follow the self-guided trail to see the authentic ruins and learn about the Anasazi culture. They abandoned their village about AD 1200. The Visitor Center houses a collection of artifacts excavated at the site. The ruins, artifacts, and replica Anasazi dwelling help the visitor to appreciate what Anasazi life was like over 750 years ago. The glory of a sunrise over Bryce Canyon is an experience never to be forgotten. It is the eternal beauty of nature, created through the magic of time. So ever extraordinary, yet ever changing. A geological jewel to be treasured forever.